So this is a video showing how I made these Betta Fish earrings using shrink plastic and UV resin. First, I started with sketching out a couple of different fish that I had from reference photos. Unfortunately, there's no video or video clip of me sketching the fish because I actually sketched them while I was laying in bed, getting ready to go to sleep. It's a nice relaxing activity to do before bed, so I've started kind of sketching in this little mini sketchbook that I made. So here are the sketches that I did of the Betta fish. And when you're going to use shrink plastic to make something, it's important what type of colored pencil, marker, whatever you use. So colored pencils work well. Soft pastels can work. Also, permanent markers work well. Like I said, was laying in bed when I did these, and I had a Ziploc bag of markers that I had prepared to bring along with me with my mini sketchbook, and I just used whatever markers were available. I think they were water-based markers because, as you'll see later, when I am putting the Mod Podge on, some of the colors kind of started to blend together, and even the paintbrush with the Mod Podge started to get stained from the color that was on the shrink plastic. So that was a little bit of a mess. I knew that you're supposed to use certain materials beforehand, but I like to push the limits with art and sometimes things in general. So anyway, I took the risk, and I like the way these earrings turned out, so it's fine. So after cutting out the shapes, I just punched a hole in each of them because I wanted to make them into earrings. This is using the heat gun to shrink the fish. On this first fish, I don't think that it happens, but on the second fish that looks like this, when I was holding the fish still with the tweezers, it actually caused a little hole to occur in the fish. And I learned from that while you want to kind of keep things steady and keep your shrink plastic from blowing all over the place, you also want to let up with the tweezers so that you don't end up creating a hole in the project that you're making. It turned out fine when that happened on the second fish because I continued to heat it and all the plastic continued to melt together. But I don't want to take chances of that happening again in the future. So there's the first little earring fish, and it's actually more vibrant on the back side. So that's the back side of the fish, that's the front side of the fish, and the colors look really dull. Again, I should have used colored pencil or permanent marker or something better than what I used because I think I just used some water-based markers, and those are not ideal. So here I'm just using the heat gun to shrink the other fish, throwing my little container around, and heating it again for good measure. You know, it's probably not necessary. They say once your shrink plastic stops moving, it's done. And then you should just put something on top of it to press it down and make it flat. But it's not really necessary to heat it again and flatten it again, even though I tend to do that. I don't have a ton of experience yet doing the shrink plastic. I've done it a few times, and I'm still learning. I find it to be a lot of fun. And this is the first pair of dangly earrings that I've made with the shrink plastic. I've made some other earrings. They are stud earrings, but they are a gift for a friend for Christmas, and I'm not sure whether or not I'm going to post the video about it before Christmas because I don't want to ruin the surprise. Although usually when it comes to gift giving, I can hardly wait to tell the person what I got them or give them their gift. So I might end up just posting the video anyway, and my dear friend who I made the earrings for will see the video. That is to be determined. So we've got the third earring heated, and again, looks more vibrant on the back side. That's the front side that looks kind of dull. That's the back side that looks shiny and bright. And then this is the fourth one. Just going to heat that and shrink it. When I was making these, I actually almost shrunk the first set without punching holes in them first. And then I remembered what I was doing and stopped and punched the holes. I would have been very upset with myself if I had shrunk them and not punched the holes. Because the Betta Fish pins that I made, I originally wanted them to be earrings. I wanted them to be stud earrings, but they didn't shrink to be small enough. So they ended up being pins or brooches, whatever you want to call them. And again, pressing and heating and pressing and heating just because, not for any reason. I don't think it's necessary. I just, for whatever reason, end up doing it that way. And then we've got I'm just adding some more detail with a gel pen. The eyes, one of the eyes on the one earring had white on it still, but the one at the top didn't, so I had to just kind of fix that. And then some Mod Podge. So this is where you'll see, as I'm trying to paint the Mod Podge on, the paintbrush gets murky with the colors, and I just wipe it onto the parchment paper. You can even see the greenish blue color on the parchment paper. And in between, I'm wiping it on a paper towel to kind of try to clean it off. That's the lid of my Mod Podge container. It's stained with the color from these water-based markers, and I just have to use a paper towel to wipe it out of there. And after the Mod Podge dried, I used UV resin to coat the top of it and used a toothpick to try to carefully spread it around. And on one of the earrings, the one that has the yellow in it, the hole got filled in, and I actually had to use an 1/8 of an inch drill bit and my drill to drill out the hole. So I coated the top with UV resin, and I did, I think all in all, at least 2 to 3 coats on the top. And then once that was all done, I, did the same thing on the back, probably 2 to 3 coats. And then just curing it under a UV lamp. As always, whenever you're working with heating shrink plastic or using UV resin, those things are letting off fumes, and that's not good for your health. So you should protect yourself. Do it in a well-ventilated area, use a respirator, and you should also wear gloves when you're working with UV resin so that you can avoid getting it on your skin and causing any irritation. So here I am coating the back sides, I believe. I think this is the back side. And as you can see, some of the UV resin dripped off, and I had to move it because I didn't want to put it under the curing lamp with it dripping off the side like that. So I moved it onto this little silicone scrubby thing. I don't even think that thing is meant for resin. I think it's a kitchen gadget that I found somewhere. but it's made of silicone, so it's good to use for a resin, especially when you're trying to use UV resin to dome your project. So just putting some UV resin and spreading it around with a toothpick and then curing it under the UV lamp. You can see that the UV lamp is going, oh, and then just using a lighter to pop any of the bubbles in the resin. And the UV lamp was going because I had multiple projects going on. I think I was doing the other earrings for my friend at the same time as I was trying to do these Betta Fish earrings. Okay, so here comes my least favorite part of all, and that is trying to do the jump ring. I used to do jewelry making. I was into beadwork for a while, and I really love beadwork. But one thing that I don't enjoy about jewelry making, and I always avoided it when I made jewelry, is anything to do with these jump rings. It's difficult to use the tools to open them, and once you open them, they don't ever close right, and at least not for me anyways. And so what I did with these, and it will be difficult for you to see because it's difficult for me to use my fine motor skills and try to see what I'm doing and make sure that it's under the view of the camera. So what I did after I tried to close the jump ring on each one of these earrings, I used a little toothpick and I got a little bit of that UV resin and I dabbed it right at the opening, quote unquote, that I actually closed with the jump ring, right on the little spot that used to be open on the jump ring, and used a UV flashlight to cure it. And that was just like an added measure of protection because, you know, in case the jump ring gets snagged on something, because sometimes that happens, well, this will prevent that from happening. There won't be any rough or open edges for the jump ring to get snagged on. It is sealed closed with UV resin. And there are 3 out of 4 earrings completed, and then this last one, I finally figured out almost how to have it under the view of the camera. And here's the final product. 2 pairs of Betta Fish earrings. In hindsight, I should have planned it better. When I sketched them, I sketched both of them facing in the same direction. But when you're making earrings, it would be best to do one of the sketches one way and the other sketch the reverse way so that the fish can actually face each other. I hope you like these earrings, and I hope that seeing this video can give you some ideas on things that you can create with shrink plastic and UV resin.